Hello everyone, this is Debbie from the Inspiration Station. Welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, welcome. Thank you for joining me. Today I'm working on a scrapbook page using another Allison Davis sketch. This one, however, is free. You can get it from Scrapbook Generation. It is sketch support, free sketch number 14. She just posted it this week, October 24th, I believe, was the date that it went up. And it's a very pretty sketch. I love the circular design. I don't do circles a lot on my pages, but this one looks good. I will be adapting it to a fall layout, so I won't be using flowers. I will be using leaves. You'll see I'm going to be using my Tim Holtz thinlits for the leaves. These are the photos that I want to scrap. These are my nieces, great nieces actually. Over the weekend I got to see them and they made a huge pile of leaves and were playing in it. So those are the photos I'm going to use. The thing I like about the Scrapbook Generation sketches is that Allison puts all of the dimensions of pieces right on here. So the circles that she uses are 8.5 and 9 inches. The photo mats are 2 3/4 by 3 3/4. And this photo is a 2 by 2. And then she's got sizes of the flowers and the journaling strips. So everything is there, and she gives some additional tips about using foam adhesive to adhere the title and adding a stitched border. I'm not sure if I'm going to do the stitching. I really, that's not my thing, but I might do some paper piercing. We'll see how that goes. Anyway, the paper that I chose, I have this great American Crafts wood grain paper. I'm not sure if the camera will pick it up, but this is actually a textured wood grain. So that was my first thought. And then I have this beautiful paper here, which is, it came from a paper pad. I'm not sure if it was Recollections or Craft Smart, one of those, but it's a fall paper from last year that I really like. Now, I did cut my circles using the Cricut, and I made them a little bit bigger than what Allison used because my photos are bigger. She used 2.5 by 3.5 photos, and I used 3 by 4. So once I matted them, they are larger than what she had, so I made my circle larger because I really love this paper and I wanted to see more of it. So the photos are going to go on there. I have all the leaves. Like I said, I will be making the embellishments myself. And I have to add, even though it's not in this page, I have to add this reddish paper to the back of my layout. So I did cut this down. And the reason I'm adding the red in is because it's going to go in my album next to another page that I did where this is the background paper. And even though they're not a double page layout, when I put layouts into my album, I do like them to coordinate. So I don't want to have, let's say, that page with all the reds and the oranges and fall colors, a different set of fall colors competing with the other page. So you'll see when I come back, I'll bring that page out so I can show you how they go together. Okay, so the title that Allison put on here is along the bottom, and it's going to go across the photos. Now I have two thoughts for that. My first thought was actually using a cut apart. I like this one that says enjoy the little things because they're little and jumping in leaves is a little thing. So I thought that was really a cute idea. So I may use that, or I saw a phrase online that I thought was perfect and I cut it out on my Cricut. So I'm going to see how that looks, but it says, so cute, even the leaves fall for us. So that may end up coming down here. I'll find out when I start laying it out if I like that. I do like the title. I just don't know if I'm going to like how it looks on the paper. So the next thing that I need to do, which actually I've already done, but I want to show you how, a couple of things, give you a couple of tips. I don't like wasting paper. So right here, my background has 4 sheets of paper. I could cut the centers out of this paper and use it, but this is kind of a nondescript paper. I have a lot of it. It's okay. I don't mind that. This I have 25 sheets of. I bought a whole package of it, so I'm not really worried about conserving that. However, this red paper that I need to match for the previous layout that I did, this is my last sheet. So what I do is I gut the center out of it. So if I want to use any of this for matting or embellishments, which I probably will because I want to cut some leaves out of it to tie the color into the embellishment, I can. And all I do with that, I've done a video on this before, but I put it into my trimmer. It has to be a slide trimmer. It can't be a guillotine. Or you could use an X-Acto knife. And I just go in an inch from the center because I cut a 1/2 inch off my base page. So I go in an inch into the center and I cut along here. And then I will tape it to the back. I will use my adhesive tape and put it on the back just like that. And once it's in the album, no one will know that the back it's been gutted. I've taken everything out of it. And then I can use that. It's basically a 10 by 10 piece of paper that I can use again on another layout or for matting or embellishments. So that's what I've done there. And I've pre-cut, as I said, my circles. I cut them on the Cricut, and those are ready to go. My photos I printed at home, so those are going to go on there. Again, here's the sketch that I'm working with. So I'm going to play a little bit, come back, see where it ends up. And oh, before I do that, I wanted to also show you how I colored the leaves, because most people, I think, have probably done this, especially if you're a card maker, but if you're a scrapbooker, you may not have, because it involves ink. So I used Tim Holtz ink. I started with the Distress in Gathered Twig, which is my favorite brown, and then I went in and I added colors with the Distress Oxides. So all of the leaves, not these were cut out of paper. All of these leaves here were cut from this paper. Remember that that circle I had? Well, I have all the outside of it. So I used the dies and I cut the leaves, and they all look basically like this. So the first thing that I did was I took my blending tool and I added some brown around the edges, because, you know, oak leaves in the fall, they get brown. They're not the prettiest. Sometimes you get some pretty colors in the beginning, but generally once they hit the ground, you know, you can see in my photo, they're brown and gold. So I used the brown on the edges, just like that. Really simple, just hold it in your hand and ink. And then I went back and I chose this one. I want to add a little bit of the red too. So this is Fired Brick. This is the oxide. And I use the oxide because you're going to see when I hit it with water. I hope the camera picks that up. I can't see from where I am. But it oxidizes and it leaves these little white marks, which if you've ever seen oak leaves on the ground, that's what they look like. It looks fantastic. So I'm going to add some red to, ooh, this one's really red. Maybe I don't want quite that much red. So that one's going to be a really, really reddish color. And then the fossilized amber, which to me is like the perfect fall yellow. So I'm going to grab some fossilized amber and I'm going to go in and change that to a more golden color. So it's not quite as red. There we go. Okay. And if you need to, you can go back and add some more brown around the edges. You'll notice I do have a different blending tool for each color. I don't have it for every single color, but what I do is I have one for the brown family, one for the red family, and yellow, etc. So I have quite a few, probably 10 or 12 handles, and then I just use different foams because these peel off, and if you have the small cubes, they fit right under here, so when you want to change out the color, you just pick them up. So those are always handy. Okay, and then I mentioned when you add the water, what happens. Now, I don't want to spray this right on here or you're going to get just everything's blending. So I'm just going to spray a little bit in my hand and flick it so that I get some dots on there. And then I will grab a towel. We're going to let that sit for just a minute so that the ink oxidizes. I'm going to clean this up because I don't want that getting on everything else. If I had my heat gun plugged in, oh, actually I do. Look at that. I didn't think I did. I don't usually leave it plugged in, but it is. So we will dry that up. And you will see the little white spots, how they come out. And it looks so much more realistic with the little white spots on there. I love it. So that's how I made all of my leaves. I did have some that I cut out of the reddish paper. This was actually a scrap from the previous page. And then I took the red paper, which was, I believe, a graphic 45, a back of a graphic 45, and I just added some brown to it, to the edges. I could add a little yellow to these if I wanted to change their color a little bit. You see the oxides are very juicy, so I do have to clean up my mess when I do this, so I don't get it on everything else. But that's all I did with that. So now I'm going to put the page together, see how it turns out, see what I decide on the title, and I will be back to you. Hang on. Okay, so I wanted to come back before I finished and show you a couple of things so that people don't ask questions about how I did this. I decided that I wanted to ink this background before I put it down, so I did use the gathered twig, and this might help you see a little bit more of the wood grain. I'm not sure if the camera can see that or not, but I did like it. It gives it a little softer flow to the middle. When I'm putting my piece down on here, I learned a trick from, I believe it was Heather Baltzer on YouTube. It was simple, one of those aha moments, why didn't I think of that? But I always tried to stick it down, and then if it got crooked or whatever, it would stick like this and I wouldn't be able to pull it up. So her trick was only pull the release paper off one side, and then you can line it up on the other three sides, get it exactly where you want it before you stick it down. And then if you do accidentally stick it where it shouldn't be, you only have to pull up that one side. So I can get this lined up just like that, press it down, and then remove the backing from the others. So that will go down, just like that. And it makes life so much easier. I can't tell you how many pieces of paper I ruined prior to learning this. And again, it's one of those simple, why didn't I think of that things, but it is handy. So there you go. Okay, so I'm trying to put this page together, and as you can see, I have a helper, and she's really a pain in the butt. She only comes up here when I'm filming. I think because I'm talking to the camera, she thinks that I'm talking to someone, and that means she's not the center of attention. So yeah, she's right smack on my layout and not letting me do anything. So yeah, these are the things we deal with pets. All right, I'm back again mid-project. So I want to use this title, but when I put it on top of the layout, it really gets lost. It doesn't show up well. So I thought maybe I could make it darker and see if that helped. So I got out my distress stain. I have Vintage Photo here. I actually tried a couple of things. This is the distress paint in tarnished brass. This is the spray stain in tarnished brass, which I could not get the sprayer to work. Otherwise I would use it, but apparently my sprayer's clogged. And then this is using the Vintage Photo. Now, this is not much darker, but a little bit. So I'm going to try this because it's a dabber. I would use the ink, but because these are so fragile, I'm really afraid of tearing them. So this with the dabber, I think, is a better idea. If it doesn't work, I will end up using the paint and making them brass instead. So I just thought I would show you what I'm doing here. Just put it on some scrap paper, and I'm just using the dauber. Boy, that doesn't look like Vintage Photo at all on the white paper, does it? And my forest moss looked really brown on the brown. So let's see. Look at that. I think they're labeled wrong. That says forest moss. This one says Vintage Photo. Quite interesting. I could see if the caps were mixed up, but apparently no, it's the bottles. So I'm going to switch those caps, and I'm going to go back and use this instead. That's very strange. Uh-oh, where'd my, oh, there it is. Okay. So, you know, this is part of the process. So I'll be back again in a minute. All right, so I'm back with the finished page. Not one of my neater jobs. I really, I was having fun with it. I really enjoyed it until I added the splatters on. with the distress spray stain. I flicked it on there to make splatters, and I kind of wish I didn't. It didn't really add anything to the page, and I don't really care for it. So I tried to fix it as best I could by adding a few other embellishments, some enamel dots and things. But otherwise, I'm happy with the page. So all I have left to do is add the date and a little bit of journaling, which will probably go up in here. So let's go back to the original sketch. I did stick pretty closely to the sketch. I did change, I added in that phrase that I really liked, made this the title. So I have a little more on the page than what she had, and of course I matted it. So I did make a few changes, but otherwise it's pretty close to the sketch. So, oh, I did promise that I was going to show you the page that it is going to go next to. So hold on one second. I forgot to get that. So this is why I needed to add in the red, because I'm actually going to be putting it in the album next to this page. So you see, now they both have the same base, the same frame around them. So when they go together, even though they don't go together, they're two different events, they'll look great together in the album. And that's how I try to do things. So it may not be a two-page spread, it's actually a single page and a single page. But I repeated the element of the same paper, and I actually took the heart that I had over here, I punched a smaller one to put over here, so it brought the same paper over. So that's it. I think they'll look great together in the album. I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you maybe learned something. And tell me below what you like to do on your pages for the fall. What projects you're working on. Please leave me a thumbs up if you like this. Even subscribe. I'm not a really prolific video maker, but I am working on that. So hopefully we'll see some more in the future, and I would really appreciate any thumbs up or subscriptions or comments. Everything helps. So thank you for spending a little bit of time with me, and I'll see you the next time. Bye-bye.